Welcome to the AA Podcast, our little corner of the web where we are not afraid to discuss tough questions like,
when did nutrition, health, movement, and stress management become alternative medicine?
Where we embrace challenges in all aspects of life to become healthier and stronger versions of ourselves.
And where food and movement are the best kinds of medicine, and cooking meals at home is a revolutionary act. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the AA Podcast. This is Ashley Olson.
And I'm Andrea Crane.
We are going to continue our series today on allergies. So, if you have not listened to our previous episode, please do so. We dive into what allergies are, how they affect the body, how they are made in the body, and some common um, I guess, responses that the body has
Mm-hmm.
that you might be able to pinpoint, like, oh, yeah, I have that. I didn't know it was an allergy. So definitely go back and listen to that. It was quite informative. Thank you,
You do
Andrea.
not get to skip to the treatments, people.
Exactly.
Go back and listen.
Exactly. So before we do that, though, we are going to start off with our weekly Bible verse as always, and mine is coming from Zechariah 9:17, and this is just the first part of the verse, and it says, "For how great is His goodness, and how great is His beauty."
Awesome. All right, mine. It's from my own personal psalm, but I am willing to loan it out this morning. Psalm 27:1, just the first verse here. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?
Love it.
Okay.
All right, Andrea, anything new and exciting this week?
Well, okay, so so I feel super alert. Like my brain just feels amazing today. So, well, I don't know. That may not bode well for you in this podcast, but I feel like
Basically, buckle up, people.
buckle in. It could be bumpy. Um, yeah, I got this mushroom blend from a place where I order a lot of my supplements. And holy moly, I took just a little bit of it in my coffee yesterday, and brain felt pretty good. And then today, holy cow, I put like a teaspoon into both cups of coffee, and girl, I am alert. Like I
Really?
am so super alert. And so it's got like lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, all the big ones. And
So,
yeah.
what one sparked you into ordering it? And
Hmm.
two, is this something that anybody and everybody can do and
Okay.
try?
So yes, the quick answer is okay, so what made me order it? Um so as you know, I am keenly interested in nootropics and like, brain optimization. Because like that's my livelihood is what's between my ears. So if that goes down, things will not go well for me. And so yeah, just trying to keep up. All the new information. Brain health is just absolutely critical in trying to keep up with medicine, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always looking for ways to optimize brain health. As I'm getting older, it you don't want to be word searching. You don't want to be walking around in that cloud. Also, there's a hormonal fog that happens during perimenopause that just stinks. So I've been doing a little more digging into, how can we mitigate some of the symptoms of this. And yeah, just lots of people are using these kinds of adaptogenic mushrooms in
Now, is it
their.
a powder? Is
It's
it
a
an actual
powder.
mushroom?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a powder, and honestly, I really don't notice it in my coffee. I drink my coffee black, and I put collagen in there, and now I'm putting about a teaspoon of these things in there. So if it was really objectionable, I would certainly be able to taste it, or feel it in the texture of the coffee. But no, nothing. So yeah, I'm a fan. Um,
So kind of funny that you mentioned that. We have a brand new general store here in Evergreen, which I'm
ooh,
so excited
do
about.
tell.
Yes. So The reason I bring it up is because they have mushrooms over there, and I had not seen them. And so
Oh.
lion's mane was one of them. I think actually
Oh,
all three that you just mentioned
Ashley.
were there, but they're in whole form.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So do you
No,
just eat
all
them?
good.
Like,
All good. Yes, eat them up. Eat them up. And if you can get them locally grown, extra credit.
oh, this. So if you're listening and you're local to the Denver remote area, um, especially Evergreen specifically,
Mhm.
this general store is amazing. Their name is. Uh, oh, I just lost it. Black Fox Provisions.
You
Black
need some mushrooms,
I
dude.
need some mushrooms. Black Fox Provisions.
Mm.
They are incredible. They literally just opened this past Monday,
Oh my gosh.
and they're the cutest little store. I can literally walk to it from my house,
No. Ugh.
and they have insanely well sourced local organic produce, and they're planning on doing like a whole farmers market. He's planning on doing some um like enriched soil for your
Oh
garden.
my
I mean,
gosh, that's
it's
incredible.
like heaven right here in my backyard.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
yeah, so shout out to Black Fox Provisions, because
Mm.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited for them.
Remote shout out to Black Fox from the Boise Metro. I won't be darkening your door anytime soon, but
Well, I was
when
just
I
about to
go
say
visit,
it might
mhm.
actually make you come visit me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
so
do it. As if Raven
that's
weren't
awesome.
enough. Yeah.
Well, the more maybe that would be a fun episode to do in the future as you learn more and
Mm.
start experiencing with
Oh
experimenting with
yeah.
your own self. And it like does your body adapt to them? So do you like is it called titrating? So you're
Oh,
not
where you don't get the same effect, where you
yeah. So
become
like, do you
accustomed.
take
Yeah.
it every day and you see the same results, or does your body adjust to it? Like, do you
Yeah,
have to
that would be a
adjust
good
on?
episode because I do have
Yeah,
a lot of thoughts on that. So yeah, I've done a lot of research in this area. So yeah, let's put that on the list. Brain health. I think that'd be great.
perfect. Well, now
So
that we're
now
off topic.
I can't imagine being off topic. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about things that we can do to help our seasonal allergies. And I'm excited about this because one of the things that we're first going to talk about is something that my family has used for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super excited when Andrea knew about it too.
That's when we knew. that's
That's when
wha-
we knew it was
that's
a
right.
match made in heaven.
That's right. That's right.
We disagreed on the naming of it
Yeah.
or the pronunciation of it, but
Oh my gosh.
I can come to terms with
Yeah,
it. So
and
I also don't agree with how you say namaste. So
it's
I I think
it's
you are dead
yeah.
wrong on that one. But
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
if you don't know what we're talking about, go
Yeah,
back to our episode on the gluten for the
that's true.
holidays. It was I was
Namaste.
trying to figure out what you were saying, and I was like, that is not that is not it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, listen.
Okay.
Listen. Yeah, anyway, I won't go there. But let's just say I come by the pronunciation uh fairly naturally. It's namaste. But
No.
yeah, whatever. Um anyway, so yeah, let's talk about how to put these allergy symptoms to bed, as it were. So the first thing, so we talked last week a lot about mast cells and just the physiology behind what the heck is happening in the body, and how do we get to this runny drippy state that sort of consumes your life for these few months. And what I've also seen, and I don't know if this has been your experience too, but what I've also seen is like this extension of the allergy season where people are suffering for, it used to be, a few months in the springtime or maybe a couple of months in the springtime. And then once they could get past that phase, but now, gosh, I'm seeing people who are even suffering in the wintertime from
Yeah.
allergy symptoms. So that's becoming more common.
Yeah, actually the first time I ever experienced winter allergies was in Kansas. I was like, what
Mm.
is happening?
Yeah, seriously. So we want to be able to stabilize. So if you don't know, if mast cells are not familiar to you, go back to last episode and take a listen, and this will all make sense. But we those mast cells cracking open and releasing the histamine, the leukotrienes, and all of those immunocytokines that cause inflammation. We want to be able to keep those all in the mast cells, right? So we don't want that Pandora's box opening up and causing like all the faucets to turn on. So one of the ways that we can do this, there is a really old drug called cromolyn sodium. The brand name it went by was Intol, and I remember, so I remember when I was like 19, 20 years old. This was a million years ago, and I remember dispensing that in the pharmacy, cromolyn sodium. It used to be like an inhaler. I think they had, I think they had a liquid for nebulizer use. But I was always really curious about it. And so I remember reading about it that it was a mast cell stabilizer, and that's the mechanism of action. So it literally keeps all the stuff inside the mast cell so that you don't get that allergic reaction. Well, then as I got more into natural slash functional medicine, we're kind of looking for natural analogs that can do the same thing without all of the side effects that come along with pharma, right? So, interestingly, quercetin, or
Quercetin.
or as Ashley says, quercetin. I still don't know who's right, but again, we both say it very confidently, so it's anybody's guess. But quercetin, is a compound that's found, predominantly in like onion skins, apple peels, garlic. Um, but it's a really, really powerful mast cell stabilizer. And there have been studies now, head to head studies, using cromolyn and also quercetin, and quercetin comes out ahead by leaps and bounds. So
Okay.
I think
So I was
that's
just
pretty
about to
cool.
ask if they were one and the
Hmm.
same, but they're not.
No, quercetin works so much better. So,
Interesting.
and in fact, cromolyn sodium has really fallen out of favor. I haven't seen it used for a very, very long time, but quercetin is having a moment. It has been really rising up through the ranks as supplement use for the last several years as people start to discover it. But yeah, obviously, quercetin is the OG because it's it's God made versus this man made cromolyn sodium. But
Okay.
so cromolyn, when we would give it, it's got a super short half-life in the body, so it very quickly degrades. But quercetin has a much longer half-life, so it's considered a flavonoid. And that's a class of compounds found in like brightly colored fruits and vegetables. So flavonoid, quercetin, you'll see the capsules when you take it. It's like this bright yellow or orange color. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll recognize the color because there are several others that I'm going to talk about in just a second that are interesting when we discuss absorption of quercetin. So now another thing that's cool about quercetin is, again, if you didn't hear the last episode, we talked about the atopic triad. So allergy, asthma, and atopia or eczema going together. So interestingly, quercetin also works to significantly decrease contact dermatitis, but also eczema, which is atopic or non-contact dependent atopia. So anyway, the dermatitis, contact dermatitis, is when you brush up against something and you get hives, or you're rolling around in the grass and you get a rash. We see this in kids all the time. And so quercetin significantly decreases that reaction. Now, another super cool thing that I don't know if people know, but as we're heading into the sunlight season, the brightly colored fruits and vegetables, flavonoids, high in flavonoids, they decrease photosensitivity. So, if you want to decrease sun damage done to your skin, eat lots of brightly colored fruits and vegetables. So, they up regulate the body's ability to repair damage done by the ultraviolet rays of the sun. So, what that translates into is looking younger than you really are because it keeps your skin from collecting that photo damage. Okay. Um, so it also, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, how much How much would one really need to consume in order to get the
Oh
benefits?
boy, you can't eat enough onions. If you ate enough onions and garlic
You would
to
keep everybody away.
you would not nobody would want to kiss you for 20 years. So, I don't recommend. We really can't get to a therapeutic dose with consumption. So
Mhm.
this is one of those things, like curcumin, where you can't eat enough turmeric to really get to that anti-inflammatory therapeutic dose. Now, if you don't have allergies, then I say absolutely eat all the onion skins, eat all the apple peels, all of those things. Um, uh, to have this like microdose them throughout your weeks of eating, right? It's always good to put those into your rotation. But yeah, if we need to reach therapeutic doses, like if I'm legitimately treating something that is already existing, then I have to have
Supplement.
greater doses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another cool thing about this, I patients are getting really savvy about blood work, and actually my patients will come in and say, hey, I want this, I want this, I want this, and we'll talk about it, right? But a lot of them want a CRP. So this is a C-reactive protein, and people are kind of hip to this now. This is a non-specific measure of inflammation in the body, and what it really turns out to be is kind of a proxy marker for something called interleukin 6 or IL-6. So this is made in the liver, and it is just a it's just kind of a overall it again, it's sort of a generic marker of how inflamed this body is. So it's nothing specific. We can't tell where the inflammation is coming from, just that this body is inflamed. Okay. So when people ask for that CRP, now there's another form of CRP that is more closely related to cardiac inflammation, and so that's another animal. But just the generic CRP tells us if the body is inflamed. And what's cool is that quercetin reduces interleukin 6 and thereby reduces that overall level of inflammation or CRP that's in the body. So that's very cool. Um,
Would
yeah.
there be a case that, like, is this kind of one of those ones like, um, one size fits all, like pretty much everybody can take this, or have you noticed any in certain individuals that shouldn't take? Uh,
Well, I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of any reason that somebody couldn't take quercetin. Now, that said, anytime we have supplements that engage the immune system, in a fairly direct manner, I like to pulse them. I don't like them to be given all the time because you will reach a level of tolerance for these things.
mhm.
So there's lots of things that I like to pulse, frankly, but anything that interacts directly with the immune system, I like to pulse. So I would not have somebody on this all the time. But as we're ramping up for allergy and asthma season, I do like people to start this if they can do it. I like them to start at about 6 to 8 weeks before the allergy season typically hits for them. But uh, and this is a great segue. How do we get it into the body, right? So you can take all the quercetin you want to, but if it's not absorbed, if it doesn't get into the bloodstream, it can't interact with the immune system and do its thing, right? So how do we and here's what I find really interesting. So the bright orange flavonoids, and actually any flavonoid, but these are going to be probably fairly familiar to our listeners at least. But quercetin, curcumin, and berberine. Okay, so if you think about what those look like in the capsules, they're all very similar. They've got these bright, vibrant, orangey yellow colors, and it's hard to get those across the GI system, right? It's hard to get those to cross into the bloodstream. So, and I've told people this for years, you don't want to be eating lots of brightly colored fruits and vegetables without a fat because it's fat that helps the absorption. Now, we don't want crap fat, right? No trash fat, no hydrogenated oils, no vegetable oils, those kinds of things. But a good olive oil, coconut oil, red palm oil, avocado oil. Did I say that? Anyway, but those kinds of oils are all really, really good. And fat helps to get flavonoids. They work as a vehicle to get the flavonoids across the membrane. All right. So it's kind of like, think about it this way. Think about, like, let's say we have a powdered steroid, right? So drugs come in like a powdered form, in their raw form. So let's say we've got a potent steroid in a powder form. If I sprinkle that powder on your skin rash, am I going to do any good at all? No. No, a powder can't get across your skin. It's too great a barrier. So, but when I put that powder, and this is like a little pharmaceutics lesson here, but if I put that powder into an ointment or a cream base that does cross the dermal layer, that cream or ointment acts as a vehicle to drive the steroid or the powder into your skin and exert its effect. All right. So the same thing is true for these flavonoids. They need a vehicle, and fat serves as a very good vehicle to get them across. Um, Now, I will put in a little plug for Thorne here, because Thorne has actually done a lot of studies. This is a supplement brand that I absolutely love. They are. uh, They can be a little pricey. They're the gold standard. There's lots of options for people that don't have the money. I don't buy Thorne everything. I can't afford it. But they are the gold standard. So they actually, I love their quercetin formulation because they put it in something called a phytosome. So they surround the quercetin in a lipid or a fat vehicle. And so that drives it across the GI system. You don't have to take it with fat. You get great absorption. So anyway, that's a little plug for Thorn. Now dosages of quercetin, I would say anywhere from 750 to about 1,000 milligrams a day in 2 to 3 divided doses. And your mileage may vary on this. So some people do really well at 500 milligrams a day. Some people need to bump that up to 1,000 milligrams a day. But you can take like a 250 milligram capsule and take like two in the morning and one at night, or one in the morning and two at night, and get to that 750 milligram dose. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is it- actually, the first three things that I'm talking about, and this is the bulk of what I suggest. I don't tell people to take 30 different things. I don't like handfuls of pills. So there are three things, kind of the allergy trifecta, that I really like, and they all work together. So bromelain is the next one. And sometimes people have heard of bromelain because they've been taking it as a digestive enzyme. And it is. It works as a digestive enzyme. So if you have oh gosh, if you have uh, GERD, reflux, if you struggle with reflux, if you struggle with digestive issues, with bloating, all of that stuff, and you've seen a nutritionist or a functional med person, they're probably going to suggest that you engage in some digestive enzymes when you eat. Bromelain figures prominently in a digestive enzyme blend. It is an extract from pineapple. It's a pretty powerful enzyme. Now, if you take it with food, it will work as a digestive aid, and you will not get the anti-inflammatory effects of it. If you take it away from food, we get a whole nother effect from this. And that is where it becomes an immunomodulating anti-inflammatory. Okay.
So take bromelain without food
Yes.
for seasonal allergies.
Yes. And in fact, I really like these formulations that have both quercetin and bromelain in
I
them.
was just about to say I've always
Hmm.
bought them together. So was that
Yes.
good?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And Thorne actually has a formulation of quercetin and bromelain in it. And you can just take like 3 capsules a day. Like I said, two in the morning, one at night, or one in the morning, two at night, to get up to that good dose that we're talking about. So bromelain is a therapeutic agent that works for sinus and nasal swelling. All right. So it will decrease the inflammation in those areas. So, when you're congested and you can't breathe through your nose, bromelain is great for that. But what's really cool is it's also a mucolytic. So that means that all that mucus, all that stuff that you are, honking out of your nose and your throat, you're coughing, clearing your throat. Bromelain is a mucolytic, and it will break up the mucus so
Hmm.
that you can expel it. It thins it out. You want to take this with lots of water because that will also work to thin out the mucus.
Hmm.
But yeah, take it away from food so that you get the actual effect that you want. Okay.
Yeah, my I never had it. My brother has it, and a lot of my cousins have asthma,
Mm.
and they have sworn
Mm-hmm.
by this complex in helping them either significantly reduce or completely get rid of
Mm-hmm.
the inhaler or the
That's
nebulizers.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Yeah, and again, because we're engaging with the immune system, pulse dosing is
Hmm.
important. So take it through your allergy season, but then be off of it. Okay,
Yeah, I typically start mine in about February.
great.
I'm not perfect, but
No,
I
you
try to
aren't,
start by
because
February.
I remember asking you lots of Februarys. Ashley, Ashley, Ashley.
Have you started? No, I haven't. I need to order it. But no, I tried to start in February. Actually, it was really good this year, and my
Awesome.
allergies have been pretty much non-existent.
That is so awesome. Well, I'm going to have you add something else to your list this
Yeah,
year
I'm
that I
excited
want.
about
I
this one.
know. I want you
I
to
have the
trial this.
secret and notes in front of me,
That's
so
right. You
I
get the
I
preview.
have never heard of this.
Okay, so stinging nettle, used by, oh my gosh, used by indigenous cultures for, or in Eastern cultures too, for, oh my gosh, probably several thousand years. This apparently, if you walk through a field of stinging nettle, you will rue the day you were born. It
Yeah, I
will.
googled it, and they were
Whew,
like, what happens if you get stung by a nettle?" And I'm like, "What?"
well, yes. No, it comes by its name, honestly. And it will tear you up. However, when you dry it and when you use it in like a like an herbal formulation, like a capsule or a tea, it has some amazing properties to it. So, in fact, I just bought some. I've got a dog that really, really is struggling with some allergies, and so I just bought some for my woofie, and we'll see if this helps him because he is really struggling right now. So
Oh.
stinging nettle, it contains substances, one of which I find this so cool. So we talked about flavonoids, right? Well, it this contains another family of substances called alkaloids. Now alkaloids are generally not great for humans. Our bodies don't particularly like alkaloids um, in great quantities, right? One class of plants that have lots of alkaloids. In fact, they're called. There's a um, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? My
There's
mushrooms aren't
mushrooms.
working. Okay. It's down the phylogenetic ladder, right? So we've
She
got
can remember all these other
right
words, but she can't remember.
it's anyway, it's alkaloid, and then underneath that would be a glycoalkaloid. So
Oh.
nightshades contain glycoalkaloids, and this is why these things can settle in your joints. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. But anybody that's got arthropathies, you can play around with getting off of nightshade plants in your diet. But alkaloids, all right. So there's an alkaloid in stinging nettle called synephrine. Does that sound familiar?
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds familiar because do you remember a drug called neosynephrine or
Yeah.
Afrin?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Those work to open up the nasal passages. All right. Now they're terrible for use long term. We don't want to use these any longer than, gosh, just a few days, because you can develop this condition, this horrible rebound condition called rhinitis medicamentosa. And it will cause, like, when you withdraw the Afrin after taking it for weeks, your sinuses, you'll feel like somebody crammed a softball up your nose. You can't get any air out or in. It's terribly distressing. So there are people who have been on these drugs for years, decades sometimes, and they literally can't breathe without squirting that stuff up their nose. Um, But what's cool is there is a natural alkaloid of this in stinging nettle. So when you think about like most of us have probably used Afrin, and the gosh, the effects are so fast. They're so fast. So you your nasal passages open up. I mean it's like a miracle. Um Stinging nettle has something similar in that. And it
Interesting.
doesn't cause the rebound effect. So, anyway, it's awesome. It also will inhibit the formation of histamine in the body. So, we talked about the, kind of the major players, histamines, leukotrienes, etc. Um, Stinging nettle will inhibit the formation of histamine. It also works synergistically with quercetin, with bromelain to stabilize the mast cells so that they're not cracking open and releasing all of that stuff. Now, something else that's cool, stinging nettle appears to have the majority of its activity in the nasal and nasal passages, ears being plugged, all the sinus cavities that we think of. Um, so when I look at somebody's blood work and their eosinophils are high, this is just in a cheap like $7 CBC, all right? If their eos are high, I know that they either have something brewing from the atopic triad, like asthma, allergies, dermatitis, eczema, or they have a parasite. So chances are much more common that they've got some atopia than a worm, right? We don't have a lot of worms in this in our particular culture. People aren't infected with worms very often here.
Oh,
So it's going to be allergies, asthma, eczema. Now, what this stinging nettle does is it will reduce the levels of eosinophil in your nasal mucosa. So that also helps to reduce inflammation. So anyway, it's a really cool compound, and dosage on this is up to you can use up to 1,000 milligrams daily in divided doses, and you can take that either in a tea, in a pill. I'm sure they have lots of tinctures available.
yeah,
Um,
I'm seeing some tinctures,
Mhm.
some teas,
Yeah.
pills,
Yeah, and it's a very
and I even
natural
saw one
compound.
that was combined with quercetin.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. So then
I
you
didn't
just
see the
need to get
bromelain
some
in it, but
bromelain. Yeah. Yeah, but and actually that might be a great way to take it. Like if you're taking the quercetin and the stinging nettle together away from or with some food, with some fat, then you could take the bromelain independently and take that away from food. So anyway, but those three kind of the allergy trifecta.
that's
Um
awesome.
Now,
And
mhm,
side note, not related, I did see that it was also good for prostate health
yep, it is.
and some diuretic
Yep.
properties.
It will serve as a diuretic. Now, something interesting that I'm going to try with my I there is a contingent of people that are struggling with stopped up ears. This is the weirdest thing. And what seems to So if you've ever had your ears plugged, it happens like when with allergies, or it happens with a cold, when you're making lots of mucus, and your ears get plugged up, but then they'll pop and it'll be okay. Like you get over the cold, you get over the symptoms. But I've seen this several times now, not only in my family, but I've also seen it in practice. Patients will come in and their ears will have been plugged for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and it won't go away. So we got lots of interventions that we can employ in primary care, but then once we're out, we got to send them to ENT. And sometimes they'll have to like drill a little hole. They'll have to perf the eardrum to see if they can let some of the fluid out. They can put in tubes in the ears like they do with little kids to see if you can drain some of that fluid out. But anyway, nothing works very well. Um, but what this I'm gonna try some stinging nettle in the next person that comes to me. In fact, I got a couple of patients in mind right now that I am going to try this with, because if we could reduce the inflammation and then also have a bit of a diuretic effect to clear out some fluid from the extracellular spaces.
Mhm.
Yeah, that might be a really cool thing to try. So,
Wish I knew about this a few weeks ago because when I
oh,
came back from Mexico, I was
okay,
all
so
stopped up.
this is the other thing I was going to mention. What seems to this is a very what these cases have in common, the ones that don't seem to go away. What they have in common almost every single, in fact every single time, is an airplane ride.
Mhm.
They go up in that plane and something happens, obviously it's pressure, it's
Pressure.
barometrically related, but there's something about the pressure when they go up that causes this to be a refractory condition that doesn't respond well to anything.
Mhm.
So anyway, yeah, ongoing mystery, but I will report back with the stinging nettle, just see
Yeah.
if it does any good there. So,
It's
yeah.
very awesome. Very
Mhm.
awesome.
So the next thing, this is kind of getting this is this is a commitment. It's called LDI, low dose immunotherapy. People are probably familiar with the allergy shots of old, right? Where you'd have to go in every few weeks, maybe, and get these allergy shots. Well, the concept is the same, where they figure out what you are most allergic to, what all of those antigens are, like whether it's grasses or weeds or trees or molds or whatever it is. They figure that out and then they give you little bits of it, right? In the form of a shot. And then your body, they gradually increase that dose. And over the course of time, you become desensitized to it. So there's a lot to this desensitization. And this is kind of the crux of all of homeopathic medicine, right? The poison's in the dose. So you give little bits and then you gradually increase, and then the body just stops reacting to it. Okay. Now, the newest generation of allergy shots are no longer shots. They are oral. So you put it in your mouth, you hold it in there for about 30 seconds. It absorbs across, you've got a huge artery and vein underneath your tongue, the sublingual artery and vein. And so you can get drugs across there. Everybody's familiar with nitroglycerin, right? If someone's having chest pain and they have these little nitroglycerins they put underneath their tongue, it absorbs very quickly, works within 3 to 5 minutes. So low-dose immunotherapy is kind of the same idea in terms of absorption, where you just put it in your mouth. It's a liquid, so you put the drops underneath your tongue, and then you hold it there for 30 seconds. It will absorb, and then you do this. My understanding is that you do this, between every 4 to 8 weeks, and then that's over the course. Sometimes you have to be treated for like a year. But I have heard some unbelievable stories about people
Mhm.
who their kids or themselves no longer allergic to anything, don't struggle
Yeah.
with any allergies anymore. So yeah, that's and it's a commitment, like I said, but
Yeah,
it's not as
I have
bad
some
as
friends that have
shots.
done it and they have sworn
Mm.
by it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it's very effective. That's something you can actually just Google LDI or low dose immunotherapy in your area, and you'll find some providers that do that.
Mhm.
And so then the next thing I wanted to get to is sort of this diet and lifestyle thing, without like a non-substance based intervention. Okay. So the first thing that I have people do is reduce, or if I can get them to completely eliminate dairy, at least for the allergy season. Dairy is highly mucogenic. Like it will turn on the faucets.
Mhm.
Our bodies create lots and lots and lots of mucus in response to dairy. If you're a singer like I am, you do not want dairy when you got to do a lot of singing, because you will get phlegmy. You're trying to sing around this big glob of stuff in your throat. It's just nasty. So dairy, highly mucogenic. So get it out. Um, then also, I encourage people to nasal rinse 2 to 3 times a day. I'm a huge fan of the nasal rinse. I can't stand a neti pot. I don't know. There's something so disgusting about putting a teapot up to your nose, and I don't know. That's just gross. I don't like the
I
gravity.
I
Yeah.
have literally bought and it is gone to Goodwill because
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
cannot
can't
bring
use a
myself
neti
to do
pot.
it.
But what you can do is the newer generation of a neti pot is a Neil Med. That's the only one that I'm familiar with. I'm sure lots of people make them now, but it's like a plastic squeeze bottle, and it's just got a screw on top with a straw that goes all the way to the bottom, and it comes with little packets of buffered saline. So these are little salt packets with a buffering agent in there. Don't forget the salt packets, because if you do, you will feel like your eyeballs are coming out of your skull. It is. Have you ever forgotten to do that? Oh
No.
my gosh! Yeah, I know this is going to be uh, not a new concept to you, but to me, like I get super flighty when it comes to like staying on task on anything. So I have forgotten the salt packet many times, and the second that hits, I don't know why, but it always feels like my eyeballs are coming out of my skull.
That's
So
hilarious.
please don't forget the salt packet. Yeah, make sure that it's dissolved in there, squirt it up one side, up the other. I'm sure there are YouTube videos on how to use these things, but it's super low tech. It just works basically on tonicity. So the salt will draw the fluid out of your nasal passages because it's got a higher concentration of salt than your tissue. So water follows salt. So it's going to draw the water out of there. It will also sweep out all of the allergens. So I encourage people to do this 2 to 3 times a day during the allergy season while we're working on all the other stuff in the background. Okay. Um, then I would be remiss if I didn't mention the conventional side of things. And like anyone knows who comes to my practice, all of my patients know, I write prescriptions every day for people because it's a tool in the toolkit, right? I'm not mad at pharma. I'm not mad at prescriptions. It's a tool that we have to use sometimes. And so if people are really super struggling, um, then the conventional treatment for this is typically we'll start with some Flonase. You can get that over the counter. It is a corticosteroid nasal spray, and it works locally, right? So you don't get the systemic side effects from it. It works locally. It works very well. Steroids are highly anti-inflammatory, so it will really calm down that inflammation. Now you want to use this daily, just like the package says. You'll just follow the directions on the box, but you want to make sure that you use it every day. Then you use the Zyrtec, okay, for breakthrough stuff. So lots of people have this just backwards, and they'll use the Zyrtec every day and then do the Flonase when things get bad. But it's just the opposite. You want to use the
Mhm.
Flonase daily and then use the Zyrtec as needed. And that's kind of the latest guideline on this. And this works the best. I've seen this work really well in practice for people who are really struggling. Now, you may be wondering why I picked Zyrtec. Simply because it works better than any other of the non drowsy antihistamines that we've got out there.
Mhm.
Claritin, I've seen data on Claritin that shows it doesn't work any better than placebo.
Mm.
So just so you know, I would start with Zyrtec. They've got kid dosing on that, so it's fairly safe. Again, I would not use this long term. I would only use it while we're working in the background on getting mast cell stabilization, working on getting dairy out of the diet, all of those things that we know to do.
Mhm.
But then if you've got breakthrough symptoms, then you can use some conventional stuff too.
And I know another popular one that we have lots of thoughts and comments on, Benadryl.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So no, just no, don't take the Benadryl. Benadryl used to be one of the safest drugs, known to man, right? It's over the counter. It's widely available. We give it to our dogs. We give it to our kids. People used to give Benadryl to children to shut them up so they would sleep. I'm telling you, Benadryl is a scourge. I have lots to say about that, but I will hold that until the brain episode.
Yeah, we're
Um,
gonna do that's just a little
yeah,
plug for an episode we're
yeah, we got
planning
to do
on.
that.
And yeah, there are some scary
Hmm.
data
Get off the Benadryl, people.
on Benadryl.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
Yep. Any diphenhydramine, and yeah. Anyway, that we'll save it till the episode. But
Yep.
get off the diphenhydramine, no matter what it's called.
Yep. Exactly. Well, this was very enlightening and
Oh,
very,
good.
very cool to hear all these natural, but not so far left or right field.
Yeah, all field, just out there.
Just out there,
Hmm.
ways that you can help with your seasonal allergies. And
Yeah.
like I said, I've done quercetin and bromelain for years,
Hmm.
and only recently with Andrea, since she's told me about the using it, 6 to 8 weeks prior to
Mm.
seasonal allergies starting,
Hmm.
have I really noticed a significant difference. But even when I have a cold, I up
Yeah.
my quercetin with bromelain. Like
Yeah.
that's the one of the very first things that I think about doing.
Yeah.
So, and it definitely helps with what we talked about. So,
Hmm.
well, thanks so much,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to get this stinging nettle. Like,
I know. So
yeah,
yeah, get that on board. So the stinging nettle, I would say, you could start that even just like a couple of weeks before the allergies really hit,
yeah,
because this should work more quickly than
yeah.
the quercetin bromelain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of might do it as a tea. I personally like tea, so
Oh, I hate tea.
okay.
You
I know
knock
you do.
yourself out. Oh, sorry to all the tea drinkers. It's just it's such a disappointment. Here's what I call tea. Tea is a disappointment in a glass. That's just how I feel about tea. It
Well,
smells so great, and then you take a taste. You're just like, okay, this is like smelly water. No.
so good.
Oh, coffee. All right.
We
Anyway,
will
that's
agree to
another day.
disagree on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Well,
and a
thanks so
number of
much for
other things.
listening. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. As always, if you have comments, questions, suggestions, we would love to hear from you. Our contact information is in the show notes. And I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but one of the greatest compliments that we can receive is if you share our episodes. So, whether that
Yes.
be through a text message, email, if you're not on my weekly email list, hit me
It's
up
so
and I'll
good.
get you added to that. I provide a weekly recipe. Most of them are dairy, gluten free, so um,
They're
most
very good.
people can most people can make them if you have food sensitivities. But yeah, and then I share the latest episode every Tuesday. So
Hmm.
that you could forward that on, that would be a great compliment to us. And then if you are being extra generous, we would love a 5-star review on whatever platform that you are listening on, and maybe even just a little comment on why you love this episode. So if you do, anyways, and I'm sure if you're listening today and you
Of
finished
course
this
you do.
episode, you did love it. So I don't know how you could not. So
In our ever humble opinion of ourselves. Oh my.
exactly. So,
Uh,
yes, thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye. The content provided in the AA podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The information and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not constitute medical advice.